Targeting the most serious offenses, prosecuting the most dangerous criminals, directing assistance to crime hotspots, and pursuing new ways to promote public safety, deterrence, efficiency, and fairness, we in the federal government can become both smarter and tougher on crime.
I think it's probably unprecedented for a sitting United States Attorney General to say, I'm giving an order today to prosecutors across the country to no longer prosecute a certain offense. I've never heard of that.
But the Attorney General sounded pretty confident moving forward and talked about a number of directives he's given on a number of fronts.
That's because he hasn't received any pushback. What he's done now, what he's proposed with these drug laws is worse than just suspending the parts of the law and instructing prosecutors not to prosecute. He also is telling prosecutors who already have prosecutions in place that they can withhold evidence so that the defendant won't get a maximum or a mandatory penalty. I mean, that is illegal, that's unlawful, that is simply shocking. That would be the instruction from an Attorney General. I think as one former Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General said, if you did that in a private case, you'd be accused of a felony if you were prosecuting it and you were withholding evidence. And it is epidemic. It isn't only in this, it is in the Obamacare law, the administration's own law, the parts of which it's suspending. It is in the DREAM Act, which is a unilateral suspension. And the president proudly says this. He goes out and says, I will not allow Congress to stand in the way of X, Y, and Z I want to do. Well, under our Constitution, Congress stands in the way if it doesn't approve of something. In a banana republic, a caudillo stands up and says, I will not allow, the old guard, I will not allow a constitution written by autocrats get in the way of helping the people. That's not how we do it here. And it's shocking how little resistance has gotten, not only from the Republicans, but from Democrats who are endorsing this continuous and repeated lawlessness.
Be running on Obamacare in 2014. In fact, we set it up to run on it in 2014. We fully expect to run on it, and we expect to win on it.
As this implodes, what we want the implosion to do is tilt toward the free market. Those that have wanted that single-payer system, they want enough of it to be done away with that it would only go toward a single-payer system. We want to delay, defund, repeal, replace, and get rid of this. It is not ready for prime time.
Yeah, I think what he's doing, he's putting up a brave front. They have no choice. They're all in on this. It was like Romney on Romneycare, once you pass it, it's yours, you own it. There's no point in running away from it. I think what Republicans ought to do is a two-pronged attack. Number one is to talk about the unfairness, and you can really be very specific about this. You make the case that employers have gotten a pass, individuals haven't gotten any. So if you're big, you're rich, you have influence, you have a lobbyist, you got a pass. You got a suspension of the requirement, individual mandate remains. And secondly, I think this is a small issue. It isn't a lot of money at all, but I think it's a symbolic one. The fact that if you're a member of Congress and it's held in pretty low repute, you're getting a subsidy in the exchanges that is only supposed to go to somebody who's poor. You're making $175,000 a year and your staff as well, and yet it's now the law has been jimmied so that you get a 75% subsidy from the government. Anybody of your income who isn't in Congress gets zero. I think you ought to focus on those two issues. And as for the train wreck of implementation, you don't have to talk about it. Let it happen, let it unfold, and then you comment on it.
The really interesting question is why it is that my friends in the other party have made the idea of preventing these people from getting health care their holy grail, their number one priority. The one unifying principle in the Republican Party at the moment is making sure that 30 million people don't have health care.
That's a false narrative. He said that we're trying to keep people from having health care. That's just not true. That is an absolute blatant lie.
You're going to make a threat that you're going to do something, make sure it's something you are prepared to do. It would be nuts for the Republicans to end up shutting down the government. It always ends up hurting them. You should make other demands that are less impossible, and you might actually succeed. Otherwise, it's a mistake.
has been a Sunfish production.